All right, good afternoon, students. So, welcome to this session on personal interviews. I hope my voice is audible to all of you. Just give me a confirmation.
Yes, Siddharth, we
Yeah,
can.
thank you, Amit. So, right, let us begin this session. I am Siddharth Mehta, and I will be taking you through this session on personal interviews, which will help you in all the IPMAT the IPM second round interview, second round process, that is the interviews. Also in the Symbiosis and whichever place you are applying to where you have personal interviews as one of the selection criteria. This particular session is going to help you in that regard. If you have any questions or queries, you can post in the chat box. We will definitely take up your queries. Right. So we need to understand that this might be the first formal interview experience for most of you, right? So some of you might have attended or attempted any interviews in the sense of, say, head boy, head girl, or some positions in these schools or at various places. But for majority of the students, this is the first formal interview. And we need to understand that interview is not a test of perfection. Nobody is looking for a superhuman here, right? So we need to get that thought out of our mind कि interview crack करना मतलब एकदम तोड़ू फोड़ू होने की जरूरत है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. What is tested in the interview is that how honest, how genuine you are, how much you are aware about your own self, the decisions that you have taken in the past, the decision that you are taking now, and your future vision. Now, future vision looks like a big thing for an 18 or 19-year-old, but I will explain you what we mean by future vision when that question comes, right? So it is something about your own journey. So if you are well aware about your own journey, and if you can explain your journey to someone, then I think your half the preparation of interview is done. The other half is, of course, your academic and general knowledge of the ongoing issues, right? So we will be discussing all of those things. So let me begin. The big picture, why this matters, why this interview is important, because you know that the entrance test is just one part of it. You have just got your foot in the door. Now, this is a very critical part. We also need to understand that competition in interviews will be much more intense as compared to your IPMAT exam or the Symbiosis written exam. Here, the competition will be much more stiff because they are, maybe 1:5 ratio mein they would have given interview calls. So if they have 100 seats, they would have given calls to 500 students. And these 500 students will come well prepared, right? Because they know that this is a good chance for them to make it count. So now the PI is something which is going to make or break your chances, right? It helps the panel to judge your communication skill, your personality and confidence, clarity, and how fit you are for the program. So you might be very good in communication, you might be very good in your academics, but maybe you are not suited for the field of management. So all these parameters they are going to check in the interview, right? So here are the weightages that various colleges gives to the interview process, right? So here I will also like Amiten sir is with us. Amiten sir, to give your insight on the weightages and whatever I have discussed so far.
Yeah, thanks, Siddharth. So, in fact, what you mentioned is the foot in the door has already happened, actually. So, the first stage has been cleared, and you also rightly mentioned normally the ratio is 1:5. Now, last year, if you remember correctly, nearly around 800 students were called by IIM Rohtak for the interview, but that time the seats was around 165. This time they have increased the seats to almost 190 plus. So obviously we see from the data which they have already released that 1,013 students have been called for the next stage. It is also important what you mentioned for every student to remember that it is the actual competition now begins, because the best, in a way, I would say the best of the lot has been filtered out, and now they are going to face each other in this interview, not directly each other, but your performance in the interview is something which is going to be quite competitive. That you need to understand. 14,000 plus students appeared for the examination. From that, 1,000 students have been picked up who will now be competing among themselves for that around 200 seats. Similarly, if you talk about Symbiosis, for roughly around 240 seats, they would have given call to nearly 1,000 students out there, all the SMS campuses. So their own interview process. So the competition now is tough. It's going to be tough, which means that one has to be well prepared. Now, if you look at the parameters, IIM Rohtak this year changed a little bit actually. So it focuses more now on your performance in the examination along with past year weightages and all, but still retains 15% weightage to the interview. And this can still, while the number may seem that not so significant or maybe insignificant, 15%, what will happen? But believe me, it's just a matter of 1 point or 2 point where people are left behind actually. So this 15% can still be a big factor in your selection process, especially for those who are on the edges. They might have cleared the cutoff and they have really good academic performance to talk about. Class 10 score, class 12 score, which Rohtak is definitely giving weightage. Some of the other IIMs will also do. Indore definitely gives a higher weightage to the personal interview stage because it only considers your performance in written exam and the interview, nothing else. So 35% weightage goes over there. But Indore will also have a different strategy altogether when it comes to personal interviews. So we'll talk about it as and when the results, hopefully in next couple of days, it should be announced. They'll also release a form for the students where you create your profile. IIM Ranchi is another IIM where you have 30% weightage. Amritsar will be giving 20%. The batch is starting this year, first time. And Symbiosis, they are not doing any VAT now, so obviously the weightage has gone to the personal interview. 30% now weightage goes over here. So important hai, competitive hai, and that is the reason I think that preparedness is going to be very, very important. तो किसी को अगर लगता है कि लक से क्लियर कर लिया तो अब यहाँ लक काम नहीं करेगा, अगर बाय चांस किसी का थॉट है, मुझे लगता है कि दे शुड नाउ पुट ऑल देयर एनर्जीज in preparing for the next stage, and we have time. Hopefully the Symbiosis, anyways, the interviews start on 3rd. For IIM Rohtak, I believe by 31st only the students will be able to know whether what will be the date for their particular interview. Back to you, Siddharth.
Yeah. Yeah, Abhiten sir, I will like to explain the importance of interviews mathematically to the students here, and because these students have cleared this first round, I'm sure that most of them are anyways good at maths. Let me demonstrate it to you. Some simple thing, right? So the IIM Rohtak exam was out of 480 marks, Abhiten sir, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
yes.
Yeah. So suppose 480 marks may a student got 400 marks, and I think general ka cutoff, if I am not wrong, is
381.
381 marks. Let me, for the
Okay.
sake of simplification, take it 380 marks, right? So I think if there are 800 students, that is my estimate. Nobody has given that number. If there are 800 students, I am pretty sure that 700 would be lying in this range, 380 to 400. That is the kind of usual clustering that happens. Very few would have crossed 400. Now let me say ये 400 का scale down होगा. Scale down means because now 85% of weightage is given to written score. So out of 480, if somebody is getting 400 marks, out of 480, if somebody is getting 400 marks, then out of 100, the written component marks becomes 83. That I have just now calculated, by the way, right? And for 380, if somebody has got 380 marks, then out of 100, that 380 will become 79 point something, roughly 80 marks. So what I'm saying is this difference of 20 marks is suddenly going down, and everybody stands a chance now, right? So 15% becomes all the more critical now, because the way you should see is that if they give their total marks out of 100, which they will give any which way, it will be out of 100%, right? So interview ka 15% becomes quite significant, and for IIM Indore 35% is that much more significant. Okay, so even if you believe that you have got just 381 marks, and there might be people who would have got say 420 marks, you do not stand much chance. Trust me, you still stand a good chance if you perform well in the interview. And those who have got 400 marks, or those who are getting very high marks in IIM Indore, it doesn't mean that your seat is secure. You have to do well in the interviews, because and I tell you another thing. आपका इंटरव्यू कितना भी अच्छा चला जाए, अगर मेरे पास 15 मार्क्स है देने के लिए, तो मैं आपको 13 से ज्यादा शायद ही दूं. ठीक है, और एक एवरेज स्टूडेंट जिसका इंटरव्यू एवरेज गया है, मतलब दैट पर्सन इज डिसेंट, impressive enough, but not एकदम mind blowing नहीं गया, maybe I will end up giving 10 marks. That is how it is. I mean, these are subjective things. You cannot quantify subjective things when human beings are taking the interview. So please understand, this is a very, very important process, and anything can happen from here on. It depends on how well you are prepared. I mean, then, sir, anything you want to add on here?
Yeah, in fact, that reminded me of the fact that many a time students come back and say, "Sir, my interview was only 6 minutes duration." Somebody comes and say, "My interview was 8 minute duration." Let me clarify here. The lengthiest interview I have come across, and those who have cracked, by the way, they are into the colleges, has not been beyond 15 minutes at any point of time. The average interviews, the academic based interviews, like when you are looking for admissions to academic institution, that typically the average would be around 8 minutes. So more critical for you to understand that uh, you have to give your best within those 8 to 9 minutes of time, and the four parameters which Siddharth sir spoke about: communication skills, confidence. This is what they are testing actually. Knowledge is of course getting tested by the variety of questions they'll put across, but that all is happening within those 8 to 10 minutes actually. So first of all, if you believe that the lengthier the interview, the chances of selection increases, not at all. The shorter the interview, I lose my chance of selection. Again, not true actually. So I think first thing first, when you are preparing for the interview, that confidence should always be there in your preparation as well. I think that's what is very, very important.
So Shrenik Ved is asking, when should we start preparation from IIM Indore interview? It is now. It should have been, I mean, it should have started earlier, but then it's okay, because I think most of the students at this age, they believe कि let me complete one round, तब मैं दूसरा round देखूंगा. But that ideally should have started some time back. But if not, then please start now. And trust me, 99.9% students wouldn't have even thought about starting the interview preparation. So start now. If you feel that you have a good chance, start now. Even, I mean, interview preparation is always going to help you, right? अभी नहीं तो बाद में वो तो काम ही आना है. ठीक है, चलो, let us move ahead and talk more about the things. Right. So what are the focus point of interview preparation? What should you focus upon? Okay. So one is self-awareness. So this is very, very important. If you are aware about yourself, then the confidence automatically increases by leaps and bounds. Now, there are people who are always confident but अंदर material और content नहीं होता, तो they do not make it to B schools. Trust me on that. वो 2 मिनट में पता चल जाता है, because the moment I delve deep into it, if you are not able to answer the question, then I understand कि ऊपर गैस है, हवाबाजी है. ठीक है. So self awareness, knowing your story is very important. Your values and your vision. Now this is a very, vision is something, looks like a very grandparental kind of term कि ये vision क्या है. देखो, तो इसको हम समझते हैं कि व्हाट इज विजन, व्हाट आर वी ट्राइंग टू टेस्ट थ्रू समवन्स विजन. ऑलराइट. सो values and vision are something that helps me or helps an interviewer to understand the maturity level of an individual. So even for a 50-year-old person appearing for, say, a top job in a company, this question is definitely asked, that what is your vision, right? Because that shows the maturity level of the person. By vision, we can also say, in some vague terms, we can refer it to, say, what is your goal, what do you feel about you are going to achieve in the future. Now very few people will have any idea about it. Okay. 5 years down the line, whatever I say now, I might not be doing it. So the question looks stupid that way, right? I do not know what will I be doing 7 years down the line, because at this point in time you do not have exposure to what is investment banking, what are the different areas in marketing, and that is okay. That is okay. I mean, the interviewer knows that, but interviewer also knows that you must be having some exposure to various things. So your vision, values, goals, all these things in a way tells me that whatever exposure you have, on the basis of that exposure, what kind of maturity level you have. Now, when I say exposure, I do not mean that people who have gone to say 10 countries and are studying in or are staying in metro cities, they have more exposure. It is not necessary. Definitely not necessary. By exposure, I mean that whatever knowledge you have about your environment, about yourself, on the basis of that, how much foresight you have, what can you do, what can you achieve. So for example, somebody comes to me and say that I want to play for team India, and the person is so far by the age of 18 has not even played for state level cricket. I will say that unrealistic hai. Maybe it may happen. Anything can happen, but it looks unrealistic, right? So that is what we mean by values and vision. So these are important things. You won't be having a clear cut idea, but I believe vague idea hoga that this is the kind of thing that I want to do. Focus on that, right? So we will come more to, we will cover more on each of these aspects. Second is skill building, which is communication, body language, and structured thinking. Now, each individual may give weightage to any of these. Now, personally, what I have seen is that, and I also feel, structured thinking is more important than communication and body language. I'm not saying that they are not important. In anything that I may not feel good about, you might say कि यार कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, right? But structured thinking is very very important, and that comes through little bit of practice. Now, where structured thinking will help you is, for example, they give you a topic and they say कि चलो इस topic पे बोलो, and you do not have any idea about that topic. So your structured thinking comes to play there, right? People do not look for the content when they give you extempore topics. They look for the structure and logic through which you speak. Communication obviously is important. Body language is important. We are not denying that. All these factors are important, right? So what should you do now is you should take as many mock interviews as possible. Please remember, you have to sit with someone who is mature enough to take the interview. Now, taking interview I mean, anybody can take the interview. मेरे को नहीं भी पता है तो भी मैं ले सकता हूँ. But if you sit with wrong person for the interview, that can actually turn out to be disastrous and demotivating. Remember, we are not taking roadies ka interview here where we have to put you under a lot of pressure. We have to make it relevant. So, and a person who is mature enough, maybe your mentors, maybe your teachers, sit with them. Don't sit with any random person whom you feel कि ये भैया तो अच्छे हैं या ये तो अच्छे होंगे अच्छे, मैं ऐसा नहीं कह रहा हूँ. But right now, what you need is relevant feedback and not irrelevant feedback. Right? So mock interviews are very important. Make it a point that at least you take 3 to 4 mock interviews, ideally with different people who are mature enough to understand the importance of interviews. Seek feedback. A 10-15 minute interview should be followed by, say, 20-25 minutes ka feedback where you can improve and go back and self reflect that how you could have performed better in the interview. Now, once एक interview देते ना, तो usually our mind starts playing that what if I would have answered the question that way? What if the interviewer could have asked that question in a different manner? That is if that is happening, then you are going in right direction. That means you are reflecting on what happened, and you are also in a way visualizing what can happen. So these things are very very important, right? So let me go and now discuss these things in detail. Personal profile, knowing about yourself, very very important to understand your personality, values, and clarity. The clarity is important here, right? So the first question is, in most of the interviews, I'm not saying always, but in most of the interviews it will be your introduction or tell me about yourself. All things are one and same. Please now don't get into technicality. Sir, वो introduction पूछेगा तो वो बोलूंगा, tell me about yourself बोलूंगा, पूछेगा तो वो बोलूंगा. एक चीज पहले बता दूं, interview is not a viva. So interview is not a viva. There is no right or wrong answer here. There is only one answer. And that one answer is your story. So whatever your story is, tell the best part of the story. Right? So that means you have to think back your story. When I'm saying story, it's a true story, right? Not the cooked up story ki aisa kuch bhi bana karke nahi bolna. Whatever has happened so far, sit down and write a 4-5 page thoda biographical sketch after class 8th 9th, whatever activities you have done academically, extracurricular, all the things that you believe have shaped you as a person. And there is no limitation here. The moment you sit and come to a teacher, sir, how to write my biographical sketch, that itself is a wrong beginning. You just sit and write about yourself. Do not think that people are going to judge. You do that task. Don't show it to anyone. And then out of that complete story, pick those 3 or 4 pillars. Pick those 3 or 4 pillars around which you will answer the questions. Now, whatever question they ask, my answer is going to remain same, right? If they ask me about myself, I have those 3 or 4 pillars in my mind. I will talk about those 3 or 4 pillars. If they talk about my hobby, again, out of those 4 pillars, one is usually my hobby or interest. I can easily divert the interview in that direction. All right. So think like that, it is basically your story. You have to pick your strong points, interesting points about which you are convinced कि इसके बारे में बात करने में मेरे को मजा आएगा. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट लाइन है, मेरी लाइन को ध्यान रखना. दिमाग में आता है कि सर ये सही है कि गलत है. इफ आई से दैट आई लाइक प्लेइंग वीडियो गेम्स, इज इट राइट और रॉन्ग? इट डजंट मैटर. If you enjoy playing video games and you like talking about it, please go ahead and talk about it. उस पर सोचने का मतलब ही नहीं. सो when you are speaking about something that you really like, your energy level becomes completely different. So sometimes we try to become too intelligent that कि सर रीडिंग अच्छा लगता है, राइटिंग अच्छा लगता है तो अच्छी बात है, गुड. बट वीडियो गेम खेलना अच्छा लगता है तो भी ठीक है, कॉमिक्स पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है तो भी ठीक है. प्लीज डू टॉक अबाउट थिंग्स इन दैट मैनर. पॉजिटिव एनर्जी के साथ यू हैव टू स्पीक, राइट? सो आइडेंटिफाई दोस 3 or 4 इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग्स अबाउट योर सेल्फ रादर देन थिंकिंग कि थ्योरेटिकली कौन सी चीज सही लगेगी. वही चीज सही लगेगी जो सच है. तो सच आप जानते हो, यू नो द ट्रुथ. प्लीज प्लीज थिंक लाइक दैट, राइट? सो टेल मी अबाउट योरसेल्फ. बेसिकली will cover various aspects. Okay. But what I will say is that please keep it a mix of facts and qualitative aspect. Now, a lot of times students only end up giving me factual information. I am Siddharth Mehta. I have done my schooling from Delhi Public School. I have scored 80% in class 10, 70% in class 12. I have taken commerce. I कुछ है facts के अलावा कुछ भी नहीं आया. But apart from facts, I also need to give some qualitative information. Qualitative information could be your strengths, could be your hobbies, could be your family values, right? Include those things. Speak as if it is a part of the story. It's not something which you are uttering, right? So remember that. Next is so what are things are you should you cover? A little bit of accounts, a little bit of family background. I seriously feel that for you all it becomes important. Not that selection is going to happen on that basis, but family background gives me an insight on what kind of values you might be having. When I say family background, I do not mean that give me names of your parents. You can tell that my father is a doctor, my mother is a teacher, and from them I have learned these values. Now that is something which automatically I can connect it. Okay, since your family environment is like that, you might have learned these values, right? So family background का वो मतलब होता है. Then your hobbies, your achievements, both in academics or extracurricular, and position of responsibilities can also come here. If you have been a head boy or a head girl, or a sports leader or anything, I mean, which you feel was important in shaping you as a person, that can come. Remember, the thing is that include those things that you believe you will like to talk about. वो important है. दुनिया क्या सोचती है वो important नहीं है. What are your strengths and weaknesses will automatically come from these things. जो हॉबी है वही स्ट्रेंथ है, उससे ही स्ट्रेंथ निकला है. अचीवमेंट जो हुआ है वहीं से स्ट्रेंथ निकला है, राइट? सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर लिंक्ड टुगेदर. Now there might be question which will come that why did you take commerce science in your 11th grade? Important question to understand. Now when suppose I am a arts student, suppose, and somebody asks me, so I won't end up saying that I did not like science and commerce तो कभी अच्छा ही नहीं लगा, तो only choice वो in front of me was arts. So please do not talk like that, right? Although it might be true, and I may sound contrary now कि सर अभी तो आपने बोला कि ऑनेस्ट रहना है. ऑनेस्ट रहना है, बट जो हमने डिसीजन लिया था ना वो बेवकूफी वाला डिसीजन था, बेवकूफी वाले तरीके से लिया था. Try to think about, you pick a thing because of its good quality rather than bad qualities of the other thing. So you may say that personally I took arts because I was interested in history, yeah, constitution, yeah, political science. Plus, I also felt that maths was not something that I really enjoyed in class 10th, and this history was something that I enjoyed. That is the kind of answer that will help rather than बोलना कि ये तो बेकार था तो ये बचा था. right? But students do that, and obviously nobody would have told you. But I'm telling you, whenever you are say whenever the question is asked in front of you कि A और B में से A क्यों चूज किया, तो अवॉइड करो ये बोलना कि B खराब था, बोलो ये कि A ज्यादा अच्छा था, ऑटोमेटिकली B खराब था हो गया है. So that is a matter of perception, the way we see things. Okay, एटीट्यूड वाली चीज है. Why? Wow, wow, who is doing this? Why? ठीक है, चलो. So Anmiten sir, yeah, you will like to add on something here.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, Siddharth, you already answered it, but I think I'll go back to the first question, which is about tell me about yourself. Now,
Hmm.
I think my perspective is like this is a one question where I think the make or break actually happens. If it is asked in there, like last year, if I talk about in IIM Rohtak interviews, most of the students did not get HR questions actually, more on academics and general awareness. But they generally ask, and all institutions, all panels generally have this question to begin with because it's an icebreaker. I don't know who the panel member is. The panel does not know the candidate more in detail. Actually, they have some information, the ones which I have already given in the application from, like you were saying, what should be avoided. I am Siddharth Mehta, I studied in DPS. This information is already there because you mentioned that in the application. From half of your uh, demographic details are already available with the interviewer actually. This one is, I believe, is an icebreaker. It's like giving an opportunity to the candidate to speak, to actually make oneself comfortable in that room, in that position. At the same time, it is all about expectation that the person knows himself or herself better. So instead of those answers like I did my schooling or my dad is a doctor or something like that, it's more about knowing or understanding the candidate, how better the candidate understands himself or herself, the qualities about oneself actually. That is very, very important. The learnings which you mentioned. I think this is what the expectation has always been. And but a lot of students still commit those mistakes in terms of giving those fact-based answers, which are already there actually. It is more about मुझे लगता है कि वो जानना चाहते हैं कि कैंडिडेट अपने आप को कितना जानता है. एंड दिस इज वेयर व्हाट यू मेंशन, वो स्टोरी बिल्डअप करना वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है.
इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट्स, एंड इंटरेस्टिंग एज पर यू, नॉट एज पर दी वर्ल्ड. वर्ल्ड के हिसाब से इंटरेस्टिंग देखने जाऊंगा ना तो कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं है मेरे अंदर. ठीक है, एवरीबडी बिकम्स टू जजमेंटल देन. Okay, so this is one structure. Use the past, present, future kind of structure that I mean chronologically you can arrange things. You can also think about the things that I have talked about. Understand there is no fixed format. इसका कोई फॉर्मेट नहीं है कि मैं इस तरीके से बोलूंगा. नाउ आई हैव सीन स्टूडेंट्स एंड दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी कॉमन प्रॉब्लम दैट आई प्रिपेयर माय टेल मी अबाउट योरसेल्फ वेरी थॉरली, बट आई फॉरगेट. एंड व्हेन आई फॉरगेट आई टेंड टू शो इट टू द पर्सन दैट मैं भूल गया. वो आंखों में ऐसा आ जाता है कुछ. प्लीज, प्लीज कीप इन माइंड, आई डोंट नो व्हाट यू हैव प्रिपेयर्ड. You should be confident. You should look at my eyes and speak. Smile, speak. Even if you have forgot one point, it's okay. I mean, the easier way to do it is don't memorize your tell me about yourself. It doesn't look good. So very broadly, we should keep these 3 4 things. For example, if I will like to talk about, so I may include my hobby because I will like to talk about it, right? So my hobby is, for example, reading. I read a lot, right? My hobbies is for example, I like to do some exercises daily, right? So I do cycling daily. I am learning to draw, so I will definitely like to talk about it because मेरे को आता नहीं है, but मैं चाहूंगा कि कोई बात करे इस पे because I want to show off that I am learning, right? So these are the things with respect to hobby. Then I will also like to talk about, now at my stage I am talking about, right? So I may talk about my family, right? Who all are there in my family and how do I spend my time with kids and what do I learn from them, something of this sort. And then I will like to talk about my professional stuff. What are the things I do? I meet hundreds of students daily. What are the things I learn from them? And so on and so forth. This could be in any order, by the way. I'm just listing it down. Order we can decide. कि अच्छा क्या लगेगा, वो बात का बात है, ठीक है, राइट. बट ब्रॉडली आई नो दैट वॉट एवर दे आस्क मी, माई एंटायर थिंग्स विल रिवॉल्व अराउंड दीज 3 or 4 थिंग्स. Then will come strengths. What are my strengths? So I know that whatever you ask me, I will talk about these things on. If you ask me who is your role model, I will say somebody, I will pick someone who is an author, and maybe I will talk about that person. Right? I'm just giving you an example. Okay. So that helps me to prepare for those questions which I cannot think of, but spontaneously somebody asks. These are like, your support system. Whenever a new thing comes in front of you, think about it कि यार ये मेरी 4 इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट थे, इससे कुछ रिलेट करके बोल सकता हूँ क्या, for any question that is not only about tell me about yourself. It's very important that you keep your tell me about yourself introduction or all the answer concise and relevant. Irrelevant कब होता है? जब हम बिना सोचे कुछ बोलते हैं. जब हम बिना सोचे बोलते हैं ना, तो हम जरूरत से ज्यादा बोलते हैं. Then we become verbose, because we end up defending our stupid comment that we made at the first place. Then we start to say blabber anything randomly. Be concise. Ideally, your tell me about yourself should not last more than 60 seconds. If you are a very interesting person, it will go around 75 seconds. But attention span, आप लोगों का attention span 5 सेकंड का है. जितने लोग ये सुन रहे हैं, मुझे पता है आप लोग रील्स देखते हो, 15 सेकंड भी नहीं देख पाते हो, 5 सेकंड से 10 सेकंड. Now you have to, I'm talking about that you have to mesmerize someone in the interview. ठीक है, तो वो 60 सेकेंड भी लंबा समय है. ध्यान रखना 60 सेकेंड छोटा होगा अगर बहुत सारी बकवास फैक्ट्स बोलने लग जाओगे. मेक इट रेलेवेंट, मेक इट इंटरेस्टिंग, right? That is the important stuff. So attention span of a normal individual will not be more than 60-70 seconds. वो लगेगा बोर कर रहा है करके. तो कम समय में ये बातें बोलना है. Okay. Okay, so these are behavioral questions which might, I mean, I will be really surprised if a lot of questions from this area do come, but maybe 1 or 2 questions at max. Particularly with respect to, for example, if you say that I was captain of my football team, or I led a project where we went to a particular place for a science project or something of that sort, then maybe this kind of questions could come, which are more of a situation or decision making questions based on leadership. For example, what would you do if your teammate may takes credit for your work, right? How do you handle stress or deadlines? How your friend wants to cheat in exam, what will you do? So obviously, I mean, you can't say that there is nothing right or wrong here. You can't say that because he's my best friend, I will see what can be done. Galat hai to galat hai. Be it your friend or be it yourself. So these, if the questions are direct ethical in nature, you say that I will take the side of ethics. The first question, what would you do if your teammate takes credit for your work? Once again, you cannot allow somebody to take credit. I mean, you have to, I'm not saying that go and confront that person, but then you have to find a midway for the things. All right. So these are all situation based leadership questions. It can come, for example, if you are in your sports team, they can ask you a question like this: that tell me one instance where you disappointed your team, where you let down your team. Now these are difficult things to answer. Tell me one instance where you showed the path for your team is an easier thing to handle. But one instance where you let down your team is much more difficult. So think about both the things. अच्छा इंस्टेंस भी, बुरा इंस्टेंस भी. एज अ लीडर कहां पर स्कूल में हेड बॉय था तो यू लेट दी सक्सेस वाला पार्ट. एज अ लीडर व्हाट यू कुड हैव डन बेटर. Think about both the things, right? Amitin sir, anything that you wish to add here?
No, 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 no. We should go ahead. I think completely covered.
Right. Okay, so now the next is on communication. I mean, it's very wrong on our part to say that communication means only these things. Communication is actually, it will be tested throughout your interviews. But these questions, if asked, means specifically they want to test your structured thinking and communication. Okay, so speak on any random topic for a minute. So they give you any random topic means they will give you a topic. Okay. So this topic, now that again can come to your mind कि भाई ये तो बहुत difficult हो जाएगा. Let me tell you that topic will more or less be related to you. your place, your name, your hobby, or any current event that is happening. That is not a random topic that you are supposed to know. Okay, so they may ask you about that. Now, there are various methods to answer this, right? You can think on. You only need to think about 2 to 3 points. Okay, they will give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes time to think and maybe speak on that topic. 2 3 minutes to nahi share, maybe 1 minute to think and then speak on that topic. Okay, so you only need to understand that you have to give them a holistic picture of something, right? So you can talk about the positives, you can talk about the negatives, you can talk about why this particular thing is important, why a particular topic is important, right? So for example, they ask you about they give you a topic Sindoor, essay random, so automatically the things that comes to my mind is Operation Sindoor. So Operation Sindoor, why it was important? Why you can give a brief history of that? Why it became important? Where did India gain advantage after this operation? Where could have India gained more advantage, but they did not take that? If you have opinion on that, give that opinion. And what is the international image that India have built or not been able to build through this particular operation? Now think about the various aspects and talk about it. All right. For example, they give you I'm just picking random examples here. You like to play video game. They ask you that they give you a topic on online gaming. Right. Online gaming is a social level. So, so, you can take your stance. You can say that online gaming, according to you, is not a social level, although there are some loopholes that can be plugged, right? But for you, online gaming is a source of entertainment. It helps you to concentrate. After playing for a long time, you are able to concentrate more. It helps you to devise new strategy and counter the spontaneity when the games bring the spontaneity. You are able to take instant decision. So it has helped you to evolve as a person. Whereas there are downsides also. The downsides, for example, could be that 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 student or people who are playing it can get distracted from their actual work, end up spending more than desired time. Then there are few online games which involve financial aspect also, and once it become a addiction, people may end up spending a lot of money on the financial game and may become bankrupt also. So it may have economic repercussions, right? Also, so to overcome this, government can perhaps come up with some regulation. Now, this is how you cover the entire. This is related to your hobby. This is how you cover entire topic. So, topic your hobby is football. They ask you कि India football में अच्छा क्यों नहीं करता? Talk about it. कि अच्छा क्या है, बुरा क्या है, सिस्टम को अच्छा कैसे करना है. Think of some other country that has been doing well. India जैसा ही था, maybe some Asian countries few years back, but now those Asian countries have they are able to qualify for the World Cups, right? So think about it and talk in that manner. Okay. You can also be asked on give your opinion on a particular topic. So I have covered that. So here structured thinking is more important. Do not get under the pressure. Maintain the eye contact, and when you are given time to write, when to think, please पेन लेकर के लिखो. अभी स्टूडेंट्स में मैं ऐसे जजमेंट नहीं पास कर रहा हूं. आई हैव सीन लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स इन माय क्लास, दे सिंपली डू नॉट वांट टू राइट. मैथ्स भी ऐसे देखते हैं तो पता नहीं क्या देखते हैं वो. तो आपको पेन उठा करके अपने थॉट प्रोसेस को लिख लेना है, दैट दीज आर द पॉइंट्स. इट विल हेल्प यू इन स्ट्रक्चर्ड थिंकिंग. ओके, राइट. सो अमितेन सर, एनीथिंग यू वांट टू ऐड हियर?
आई जस्ट गॉट रिमाइंडेड, मतलब पेरेंट्स का ही फीडबैक होता था कि बच्चा तो कोविड में मैथ्स भी लेट करके पढ़ा है. सो व्हाट यू आर सेइंग राइट नाउ. So in fact, one thing I would like to add here, Siddharth, कि ये जो extempore वाला angle है ना, generally बहुत कम जगह होता है. While it's a formal process in Christ interviews, which is micro presentation, but last year in most of the interviews of IIM Rohtak, they did ask questions like this actually, and they were very generic topic. ऐसा नहीं है कि the candidates will struggle. Something they would have read. Now, when I'm saying read, I'm also expecting that you are reading something actually. ऐसा नहीं है कि I'm going to be in the business world, I'm not reading newspaper or something. You're doing that something, like you're kind of well read. It's not about philosophy books and all. So like some of the extempore topics I remember, and every student is given two choices. One was AI or human intelligence, what will control the future? And the very same person had the other choice, which was role of technology in one's life actually. So if you look at बहुत different नहीं है एक तरीके से, we are talking about one form of technology which is AI. So kind of they give you very similar topic, and similarly like social media which is already there on the slide as well. So they kept those topics very generic actually, and I think it's what you mentioned is normally about 2 minutes, 1 minute to gather your thoughts, your you work on your brain, and I think there's no harm. आपने एक चीज बोला कि students are not keen to write what you observe. I don't think today even students carry pens with them. We used to do by default, but I don't think even if they're not carrying a laptop or a tab, they're still not carrying pens with them. I think for the interview you should definitely carry. You can even you make want to jot down, it's okay, but that will take time. But I think this is very important, and at that point when you are given an extempore, you should concentrate on that. Or my point would be, अभी जो थोड़े बर्निंग टॉपिक्स हैं, जो ट्रेंडिंग टॉपिक्स हैं अराउंड साइंस, अराउंड पॉलिटिक्स, अराउंड इकोनॉमिक्स, उनके कुछ ओपिनियंस नोट्स अभी से बनाकर रखना शुरू कर दो. सो दैट विल रियली हेल्प एक्चुअली.
Right. So, yeah, this is very important. I mean, for all the students who are attending this, the school UG courses interview, uh, your academic knowledge will play the critical part. Okay, if you are not good in academics, then howsoever good you are in communication, you will struggle to make it count. Okay, so please start revisiting the concepts, revisiting the subjects. When I say revisiting, I am not saying that solve physics ke numericals. That is not the purpose, but you should know the basics, right? Economics may you should know the basics. Economics is a favorite subject. By the way, those who all have studied economics, trust me, they are going to ask. Humanities के हो, science के हो, और कॉमर्स वाले तो खैर पढ़ते ही हैं. इकोनॉमिक्स अगर आपने पढ़ा है तो इससे क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाएंगे. ठीक है. फिजिक्स अगर साइंस वाले हैं तो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी फिजिक्स एंड मैथ्स आर मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन केमिस्ट्री, बट आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि केमिस्ट्री नहीं पूछेगा. अब उसको प्रोफेसर को केमिस्ट्री आता था तो यू आर हार्ड, राइट? सो फिजिक्स मैथ्स दे आर इंपॉर्टेंट. Okay, in physics of course they won't go to the numerical, but most of the things what I feel related to quantum mechanics, or something really which you would have studied in modern physics might be of more importance, and the basic laws of all the things, mechanics के basic laws, thermodynamics के basic law, वो तो clear होने चाहिए. Optical illusions वगैरह, मिराज कैसे फॉर्म होता है, all those things should be clear to you, which I am sure class 12th students would be clear with. Maths definitely is important. जो भी maths पढ़ा है, you will get questions around maths. The questions could be on graphs and functions for those who are from mathematics background. They can give you simple integration or differentiation also, logarithms. And when I say this won't be very difficult questions. They're not going to give you, say, JE level. JE level to chodo, they are not even going to give you an engineering level question for that matter. They will test the concept. Now, the way we test concept in the interview. So, for example, somebody from maths background comes and then I ask you, tell me why value of 0 factorial is 1. How the people do not know. वो जेई का एग्जाम लिख कर क्या है, लेकिन 0 फैक्टोरियल 1 होता है पता है, लेकिन क्यों होता है वो नहीं पता है. तुम बोला अच्छा ठीक है, टेल मी द रियल लाइफ एप्लीकेशन ऑफ लॉगरिथम्स. So don't know. So focus should now be on the real life application of the things. So you have studied sine graph, cosine graph, odd function, even function. Can you give me example of odd function and even function in real life? Where can I find their application? That is the preparation that I want you to get into. So revise basics and relate them to the real world application, because you are not getting into the field of engineering. They may still ask you that the deep theoretical concept unlikely है. They will more or less ask you what you have studied, उसका application भी बता दो थोड़ा सा कि कहां पर होता है, integration क्यों use होता है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली स्कूल्स में वो नहीं बताते हैं, तो वो अभी हमारे लिए एक्स्ट्रा थोड़ा सा काम है, वो करना पड़ेगा, राइट? So but the basics should be clear. They can ask you what is odd function, what is even function, draw the graph of exponential function, logarithmic function का ग्राफ बना, simple AISI का compound interest का question, something of that sort they can give. So revise basics of all the topics, this is important. Okay, you should have a favorite subject, and when you say that a particular subject is your favorite subject, then you are supposed to have knowledge on it. You can't say that NCERT में तो ये नहीं दिया है, वो तो तेरा problem. When you say something is your favorite, that means you are expected to go beyond the textbook and know something more about it. Okay, so मैं आपको डरा नहीं रहा हूं, मैं आपकी बेस्ट प्रिपरेशन करना है तो ये बेंचमार्क हिट करना है, बोल, इसको ऐसे मत लेना कि भाई सर आप क्या बोल रहे हो करके। मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ हम वर्स्ट केस के लिए भी प्रिपेयर होने की बात कर रहे हैं अभी, ठीक है, राइट? सो एक्सप्लेन अ रिसेप्ट कॉन्सेप्ट यू लर्न फ्रॉम योर फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट, ऑफ कोर्स। हाँ, तो इकोनॉमिक्स फेवरेट है तो अभी क्या सीखा इकोनॉमिक्स? तो ट्रेड वॉर चल रहा है, पढ़ो, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप आकर के हर दिन कुछ नया अनाउंस करता है, स्टॉक मार्केट गिर जाता है, नो अबाउट इट कि व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, right? How is economics useful in real life? This can also come for how is physics useful or maths useful or chemistry useful or biology useful in real life, right? Concept based question, definitely they are going to ask. Okay, so revise every day, pick couple of your subjects as favorite subjects और उसमें deep जाओ, बाकी सबको छोड़ सकते हो। ICSE students who are there, ICSE students, अगर 12th में शेक्सपियर पढ़ा है, जो सा भी प्ले पढ़ा है, थोड़ा ठीक से पता होना चाहिए, और 10th में जो पढ़ा है वो भी ठीक से पता होना चाहिए, ठीक है?
In fact, Siddharth, in most of the interviews, and especially the IPM-based interviews, whether it is Indore, Rohtak, any IPM-based interview, particularly, a good number of questions will be academic-based, actually, because there are a couple of things here being tested. So when I ask somebody an academic question, I am also looking, I get to know about the seriousness of the candidate during the last academic year. That reflects through the marks. That is equally so one way of understanding the candidate, whether this candidate is really disciplined, actually, because that discipline only brings you that, and you have been hardworking. The second is it ratification which has been done? So that also gets reflected over there. And what you said, have a favorite subject. In fact, you agree or disagree. I'm talking to the students. You agree or disagree कि नहीं बोलेंगे तो नहीं पूछेंगे, वो तब भी they will ask you questions on one subject or the other. And how it is going to be possibly happening over there, because again, go back to your application form. You have given a lot of information to them. You have almost given your Aadhaar to them. So when the drop down, you remember Rohtak form, Indore form, the stream you had to choose, science, commerce, humanities, that you have already given them the information. So they will, even if they don't ask you which is your favorite subject, they know that this person is from science, which are the common areas of common subjects of science. At least physics, chemistry, हो सकता है मैथ्स हो सकता है बायो हो, बट फिजिक्स तो होगा ही होगा किसी भी हालत में। चलो फिजिक्स के 2 क्वेश्चन डाल देते हैं। At the same time, it is important not to forget the fact that interview is led by the candidate. They give you that opportunity. Your answer will lead to the next question most of the time, unless you bore them out altogether. That's a different story. But unless you don't answer anything. But you are always in the driver's seat, that you should never forget.
True. Okay. Fine. Anything that I'm thinking, if I've missed anything or want to talk more on these things?
I think you covered in great
Yeah.
detail, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So this is your to-do list. Know your application form and resume inside out for IIM Indore. They will be coming up with application form. I mean, those who get the interview calls, they will be giving some questionnaire to them, if I'm not wrong. Amiten sir?
Yes, yes, there are 2 questions are there, and it is all about that profile building, actually, scholastic achievements and goals in life.
Right. So whatever you write down there, they definitely questions तो वहां से पूछेंगे, तो थोड़ा सोच समझ के लिखना। बेटर हो कि आप अपने मेंटर्स के साथ बैठ करके लिखो। सो बिकॉज whatever you write, that will form the foundation, the basis on which your interview will be held. Okay, work on non-verbal cues, eye contact, posture and smile. It's very important that you maintain a proper eye contact with the person with whom you are speaking. यू नीड टू टेक फ्यू मॉक्स, मॉक्स उसके लिए जरूरी होंगे, फीडबैक आएगा तो उसे आपको समझ में आ जाएगा। स्माइल आई थिंक इज अ वेरी वेरी यू नो इम्पोर्टेंट रिसोर्स, इम्पोर्टेंट टूल दैट यू कैन यूज। नहीं आता है तो थोड़ा सा स्माइल करके बोलो कि नहीं आता है, रादर देन उसको सीरियस वे में बोलना, एकदम टेंशन लेकर के बोलना। सो कीप कीप स्माइलिंग, यूज योर रियल लाइफ एग्जाम्पल्स वेर एवर पॉसिबल, बट मेक इट अ पॉइंट दैट कि तुम्हारे कोई भी आंसर 1 मिनट से ज्यादा लंबे ना जाए। ठीक है। और हम ना सारी चीजों के लिए प्रिपेयर नहीं कर सकते। वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट देयर माइट बी फ्यू क्वेश्चंस जिसके बारे में मैं सोचा भी नहीं था। इट हैपेंस इन आईपीमैट एग्जाम, इट हैपेंस इन क्लैट एग्जाम, इट हैपेंस इन जेई एग्जाम, एवरी एग्जाम इट विल हैपन इन द इंटरव्यू आल्सो। सो हाउ यू विल डील विद दोज स्पॉन्टेनियस क्वेश्चंस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सो बी रिलैक्स, स्माइल। नहीं आंसर आता है, नहीं पता है, बोल दो नहीं पता है, एंड गेट बैक टू द ट्रैक। ओके, लिसन केयरफुली बिफोर स्पीकिंग। लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हैव दिस हैबिट कि वो दो वर्ड सुन के अच्छा हाँ ये तो मेरे को पता है, पहले ही नॉट करता है और मन में सोच लेता है मेरे को ये बोलना है। प्लीज उसको खत्म होने दो, 1 सेकेंड टाइम ले लो और फिर बोलो। नाउ देयर माइट बी क्वेश्चंस व्हिच रिक्वायर्स यू टू थिंक फॉर 5 seconds. No, you should not hesitate. You should ask, sir, can I take 5 seconds? Can I take few moments to think? This will typically the questions which require decision making. अभी तुमसे मैं पूछ रहा हूँ अपना फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट बता और तुम बोल रहे हो 5 सेकंड टाइम दो, तब तो कोई सेंस ही नहीं बनता है ना। डिसीजन मेकिंग वाली चीज में है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम रोहतक में ये पूछ लिया कि बेटा बता तू आई एम रोहतक बोलेगा कि आई एम इंदौर लेगा, अगर दोनों जगह क्वालिफाई हो जाता है तो बोले थोड़ा सा सर गिव मी कपल ऑफ सेकेंड्स टाइम बिकॉज आई हैव नेवर इमेजिन्ड अबाउट दिस हैप्पी सिचुएशन। ऐसा करके थोड़ा सा स्मार्ट वे में बोलो, 2 सेकंड का टाइम हो, फिर सोच करके बोल दो जो बोलना है। ठीक है, उसमें हम आ सकते हैं कि क्या बोल सकते हैं ऐसे में। कनेक्ट योर आंसर्स टू हु यू आर एंड व्हाट यू वांट, राइट? सो रिमेंबर योर स्टोरी, द फोर थ्री फोर पिलर्स दैट यू विल बी पिकिंग अप। मिस्टेक्स टू अवॉइड, कॉपी पेस्ट आंसर फ्रॉम यूट्यूब एंड गूगल। भाई ये मत करना, मतलब बहुत आसान है ये करना, बट आप फिर इंटरव्यू ही देने मत जाओ, मतलब नहीं होगा। सो डू नॉट कॉपी पेस्ट योर आंसर्स, think about it that it is about you as an individual. Do not try to memorize answers word for word, just remember the broad points ki ye bolna hai. ठीक है, right? Ignoring self analysis and jumping straight to rehearsed responses, no. Please analyze your responses, प्लीज रीड न्यूज़पेपर्स। अभी पढ़ना चालू करें, एटलीस्ट यू शुड बी अवेयर अबाउट द की हैपनिंग्स इन द वर्ल्ड। स्पोर्ट्स में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या चल रहा है, इकोनॉमिक्स में क्या चल रहा है, टेक में क्या चल रहा है, एटलीस्ट टू इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स फ्रॉम ईच एरियाज, एटलीस्ट ये तो पता होना चाहिए। लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस अबाउट द इंस्टीट्यूट एंड प्रोग्राम। व्हाई डू यू वांट टू जॉइन आई एम इंदौर? बिकॉज इट इज गुड, ऐसा थोड़ी ना आंसर है। आई एम इंदौर क्यों ज्वाइन करना है, मतलब उसका करिकुलम पता होना चाहिए कि आई विल बी गोइंग थ्रू दीज सब्जेक्ट्स एक्साइट मी। ऐसा कुछ मसाला देना होगा ना। सिर्फ somebody ask अमिताभ बच्चन कि अमिताभ बच्चन अच्छा क्यों लगता है, तो तुम ऐसा तो नहीं बोलोगे ना क्योंकि वो सुपरस्टार है, या जो भी आपको अच्छा लगता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई डोंट नो, अभी जो भी अच्छा लगता है उसके लिए आप ऐसा तो नहीं बोलोगे क्योंकि वो सुपरस्टार है। यू हैव टू टेल कि उसको सुपरस्टार क्या बनाता है, क्या क्वालिटीज है। तो सिमिलरली फॉर द इंस्टीट्यूट एंड प्रोग्राम, don't restrict yourself to because it is best in the field of management. Tell them why they are the best. They are the best because उनका इनका कोर्स करिकुलम अच्छा है, उनका alumni बेस अच्छा है, उनका फैकल्टी अच्छा है। whatever you feel like, talk on those lines. Okay, and of course mock interviews तो देना ही है। Please do not avoid mock interviews wherever you are, whosoever your mentor is. If you have no mentors, then we are your mentors. Join our program and we will be arranging mock interviews for you, right? Okay, so yeah. And Miten sir, anything that you want to add here?
Yeah, in fact, one of the point you mentioned, like not keeping up with the current affairs. Forget about Siddharth. Current affairs का आपको पता हो ना हो. There have been instances, there have been interviews, even last year, where the candidate was asked a very simple question: "What's the headline today?" Not aware because never read the newspaper, never interested in reading the newspaper. As simple a question कि आज सुबह के newspaper में headline क्या है? And you know what happened? The candidate went to the campus, gave the interview. उसके पहले 1 घंटे वहां था, सामने जहां पे वो लॉबी में थे वहां 10 न्यूज़पेपर्स रखे हुए थे, एक भी उठा करके नहीं देखा। मतलब काइंड ऑफ लॉस्ट, kind of lost. I think as you have to sometimes take care of these simple aspects. Please understand, Now, you may wonder why I should be even reading newspaper. I want to get into a business world. Please understand today businesses are not about geographical boundaries. What happens in one part of the world affects the other part of the world, and particularly in businesses. As Siddharth mentioned, Trump says something, next day the market crashes. And this is happening for the last few months actually. And those who are into trading especially will know about this actually, how we are living out, around it actually. So it's important for you actually to do it. And now if you don't have the habit, you have to develop that for future as well. But ये तो करना शुरू कर दो current affairs पे, because opinion based questions भी पूछे जा सकते हैं वहां से, issues के ऊपर बात हो सकती है. And definitely, as silly as this may sound, but what's the headline? And then people were not being able to answer. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will take one question from Kaparthi Dia. So Kapati is asked how to tackle the questions on weaknesses. Be honest, whatever you feel are your weaknesses, mention them, and also mention that what are you doing to overcome those weaknesses. That part is equally important to tell, that what are you working on, how are you improving on it, right? Bhavya is asking, what if they ask why we should not take you, why we should reject you. Bhavya, now that's a very difficult thing to handle. So you can only think of that you can maybe say that maybe this is my one of the weakness, but always downplay that. The better way for me to say it with that, sir, I feel that my interview has gone well, I find myself suitable for this seat, but if you find a more suitable candidate, then definitely that is a very good reason to reject me, something of that sort. So Soumitra is asking, what makes you an asset to a particular college? Soumitra, talk about your interests, talk about your strengths. This is simply a strength question.
This is where actually you must go through the mission and vision of the college. Those website pages become very important. The curriculum becomes important, because that is what your question is all about. Are you really suited? What value you bring to the table for the institution? They will add a lot of things for you. IIM Indore definitely is a big brand for you. But are you going to give something out there? So as a candidate, how do I suit to that particular program? And this is about that alignment actually. I think this is where understanding the institute's profile, understanding the curriculum becomes more important. And once you have done that, I think the answer comes naturally.
Right. Angelina is asking, how do you politely say that you don't know the answer to a question? Smile and say, I don't know. And don't feel embarrassed about it. It's
No,
okay. We don't know
no,
things.
no
Okay.
bluffing. No individual is 100% perfect, isn't it?
I'm a partial dropper. Should I focus more on UG subjects or class 12th? शिवांश, I will say class 12 तो important
That's
है.
12, 12, yes.
ठीक है, तो दोनों का एक एक दो दो फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट तो करना पड़ेगा. Okay, Amiten sir, quite a few of them are asking about the mock interviews or something.
Yes, so all those who are already part of the classroom program must connect with the respective centers. Online, Sashwita ma'am is already coordinating with you. So those who are already part of the program, those who are not CL students, we have the IPM PDP program. You can definitely join that. Visit our website. The links is there actually. You can join that. We'll guide you through the entire process till your interview happens actually. Okay. So, but CL students, those who have been preparing irrespective of which program you were in, crash course, whatever program it was, immediately connect with your mentors, seek time, meet them, start working on your profiles, take their guidance. For the online, through the Telegram group, connect with us. Sashwita ma'am is there. So all the mentors are there. We'll be helping out through, and those non-CL students, definitely I would say join the IPM PDP program or the Symbiosis PDP program, and we'll definitely work with you to ensure that your journey is a successful one.
Right. Aditi is asking an important question. If I am Indore and I am Rohtak, if they ask that, what to say? So Aditi, be honest. I am Indore is the answer here. Obviously, for most of us, until unless there is some very specific reason for Rohtak. But the way to say it is that you compare things. See, it is like picking between this phone or that phone. How do you decide? You list down your parameters in your mind that these are the 3-4 parameters, and on the basis of these 3-4 parameters, I'm going to choose one. Simply, here also you think about it. What are those 3-4 parameters? Maybe location, maybe brand, maybe placement, maybe pedagogy, maybe the curriculum. Think about this, and then start talking that these are the parameters on the basis of which I will be doing the comparison, and then give the answer. Okay, right, Amiten sir?
Yes, I think it's time for closure. And before you guys move, so this is what you have to do. One more slide is there, Siddharth. We should talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
Just the final one, basically. During the
Yeah, very important.
बहुत important है. I think देखो, don't go with the thought कि what if I'm not selected today. The moment you go with that thought, कहानी खत्म हो जाएगी. Stay calm, composed, अपना best देकर के आना है. In fact, somebody asked me a question in the chat box as well. The dressing part of it actually. Formal. No, nothing else. Formal. Formal means एकदम clear formal होना चाहिए. No accessories, extra accessories. And also it has to be according to the weather. So you know this weather is very humid at this part of the time. It's all about humid. So you don't need to wear a blazer and all actually. That is definitely a no, because that also works otherwise. So, but yes, a formal shirt, preferably for boys, I would say a complete formal shirt, formal trousers, formal shoes, all those aspects. So we'll do a grooming session. Don't worry about that. We'll definitely do a session on that. And when you are answering the question, don't jump immediately, actually, even if you know the answer, let the interviewer finish that question. This is one basic mistake we have seen a lot of candidates do. Listen carefully, always be a good listener. That's very important, not from this, but life perspective as well. And Siddharth mentioned this, even if you don't know the answer, smile and then say, I don't know it. Smile is something which is your property. You carry it with yourself all the time, and this will, who knows, this wins the game for you even if you don't know the answer. So it's always about that. You are not losing out anything. Kids, please remember, it's a long life ahead. If exams stress you out, then don't forget the fact that every day is an examination. When you go to sleep every night, you judge yourself for the entire day, what went right, what went wrong. So every day we pass our exams actually, isn't it? So don't worry too much about it. And once we've closed this session right now, be there on the YT channel. Those who are already here on the YT channel, be there. Those who are attending the session on with us here on the platform, immediately go to the YT channel, because next we have Lakshya coming from IIM Indore, who is already studying there, who cracked that. He'll be also guiding you. So ये session खत्म होती है वो start हो जाएगा in next 2 minutes, hopefully. And do join that session. So you already have somebody who has cracked the interview earlier, and he is currently a student of IIM Indore IPM program. So do join and attend the session. Rest, immediately connect with your center post the sessions, and ask your mentors to schedule a mock PIs immediately.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you so much for coming in, and all the best, guys. Just ensure that you do not miss out on your mock PIs. Connect with your respective center heads and get your PI scheduled.